Dave, your host, Melissa Radke, the original recipe. Well, hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Chicken Fried Women podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Radke. This is friendship, kinship, and the stories that made us this way. We are back in the studio today with Dr. Derek Shepard is actually my co-host back in the chair with me today. As y'all know, he was being groomed last week and he wasn't here, but he's looking so beautiful. So if you hear anybody playing with a squeaky toy or whining for attention, that's not him. That's actually today's guest. You guys, I am so excited for you to meet today's guest. Would you just welcome to the show right now, Mr. Dave Barnes?
What, this old thing? You stop it.
Okay, there's so many things I want to say. First of all, I want to say to our listeners and our watchers, our viewers, that I was listening. Do you know I was listening to Dave Barnes' music before there was a thing called social media? That's how long I have been a fan of yours.
I could feel that when I logged on. There was an energy that just shot through the computer. And I was like, I know what this energy is. And that is someone who is familiar. And that's exactly what I feel. That's exactly what I feel.
And we know so many of the same people and we love the same people. And I've for years wanted to be your friend. And then what happens is you get to listen to his music and you just love the music. And then social media came along and I began to follow him on Instagram and got to know really more of the person and still wanted to have him on the show.
I was wondering where this was going. I was getting nervous. I was getting real nervous.
I'm really excited to have you here today. And I can't thank you enough because it had to be a little off-putting when you were invited to come on a show by a woman about women.
This may surprise you, but that's actually 90% of my demographic. So this is a safe place. I feel seen. I feel loved.
You are seen. You are loved. You're adored here. Thank you so much for being willing to do this. I am a storyteller and I can't think of a better word for you as well, even through song. That's what you are. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. They're little 4-minute stories.
Or they are stories.
Sometimes 2.5 minutes. But it is. Yeah, I agree. It is little stories.
And I, how long have you been married now?
For 20 years in November.
Oh my goodness. See, I was those 4-minute stories that you're talking about. I mean, I would, so back in the early, early 2000s or whatever, I would mow my yard in Nashville. I would be on the riding mower and I would have my ears. There was no thing as an AirPod. I would just have my little, my Sony Walkman or whatever it was. Yeah. And I would listen to the music and you would be singing about your wife and y'all had just gotten married and all this stuff. And it was just, I've been listening to your stories for a really long time.
Do you know what I like about what you just did was the subtle flex of your yard was so big you needed a riding lawnmower. And I like how that was just subtle. You're like, you can't hide money. You can't hide money.
You can't hide it.
I respect that about you. As you said, I'm going to come off the top rope. That's how I want to start this, is just establish some dominance, some monetary dominance. I respect that.
I'm not rich like you. I didn't live in Nashville proper. I lived out Thompson Station way.
I'm not sure I could do it now. I got in when the getting was good. Because these days it feels like you have to have sold a body part or
that is the truth. Or either be on a bachelorette, outing.
Yes.
One of the two.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, listen, one of the things we do here is we talk about the women in our lives, the celebrated, the women that raised us, made us, humbled us as they did to me, told us, hey, Kankle's running the family. What are you going to do about it? I want to hear you talk. You tell me stories about the stories that you sit around on the bus.
Yeah.
You still do that? Do people still take buses out?
They do. They are so expensive these days, but they do.
Are they really?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Since COVID, they've tripled in their price. It's unbelievable.
Really? Because I used to take David Radke up to the Kroger in Cool Springs drop him off and he would get on the bus.
That's exactly right. Kroger's are the great meeting places for buses, as you know so well.
So now that we've lived in Texas for so long, I didn't know if they still did that or not. But
they do.
But talk to me about the women in your life. Tell me a little bit about them. What makes them special?
Yeah.
What makes them unique? What makes you laugh?
There's a lot of them. There's a lot. Not. Boy,
Talk about a flex.
Let's start here. Edit producer here. I have a ton of women in my life. Just so many myriads of women. No, it's funny to sit and actually think about this so pointedly, because as I sit here, it really is. It reads a little. I feel like it reads a little bit like one of those genealogies in the New Testament, where it's like, and then Jane, begat Dave.
Begat.
So both of my grandmothers, I'm really blessed, because my family, I've always been like, our family corporately has always been a Christian family. So that's a real gift. Both of my grandparents were believers. Their parents were believers. And so I'm really fortunate that that's the story of my family, So my grandmother's, my mom's mom was this really, they both are feisty, which is funny. Both sets. But my Thompson grandmother lived in Jackson, Mississippi. She and her husband were just incredible people. She was kind of more introverted and quiet, but very feisty and funny. Mm-hmm. So funny kind of comes from that. That's where the funny comes from.
Okay.
Which is going to be the name of my autobiography, which will be on shelves. No.
Really?
And no. Oh. Nobody wants to hear that. And then my Barnes grandmother, we called her Mom Barnes, was just this like, and my Thompson grandmother loved the Lord too. But was just a little more quiet. She was just a little more introverted. My Barnes grandmother was just she was a weather. I mean, she was a storm. The woman was just this force of nature. Truth teller, just would absolutely just give you the sauce, but in the most like helpful way. I mean, just one of the most godly people I've ever known. So that's grandmoms, which were just amazing people. And then, my mom, thankfully, is both mom and dad are healthy, which is amazing, and still with us, which is such a gift. But she's a riot. My mom is a nut
Really?
job. She doesn't want you to know that, but she's an absolute nutcase. And so much of my fun and silliness is absolutely from her. Loves the Lord, is still like discipling women and teaching Bible studies and, doing the thing. So she's incredible. And then, my wife is, I think about this a lot, and I don't really know maybe how to say this. It sounded sort of like a really bad Prince lyric, but like, women are really the most, I think about this a lot. I'm like, what is the most amazing thing God has made? And I really think it's women, not just for the beauty, because that's incredible, right? But I just watch my wife, like we've had sick kids all week, which is, thank you for rescheduling, because Monday I was like, I literally sounded like a frog. I couldn't talk. And we're we've got another one right now that was sick last night. And I'm just always amazed at Annie's ability and I think it's a mom, I think it's a woman. It's just the pain tolerance is through the roof. Like if like right now, I'm like, I could lay down, I could nap. I'm just a little stuffed up, but I could take a nap. Let's take the day off. I'm just where Annie is like, she could have lost a limb, like her eyes closed shut. Like she just shows up. She shows up.
She's going to power through.
She's going to power through. And I think about it really because of my wife. I think just watching her navigate the world it's like one of the things I'm in the most awe of anything in the world. And that sounds really cheesy, but I really mean that. There's an empirical side of that too. There's a really sweet, loving side of that. But there's also just like watching it like from another vantage point. Like I'm not even in part of the story, just watching it as a sort of a congregant almost, because it's just phenomenal. Like, and I think women, you guys have this ability to just, my mom always says this, nobody will ever love you as much as your mom. And I think it's true. I just think there's something about like the inexhaustible love of a mom. And it's not to say that dads don't love, but I don't think they love that way. I think moms it's you guys are great. Like women as a thing are just like, it's the most amazing thing in the world. And so, Annie's the best. She's the most amazing person that I know. She's just absolutely incredible.
Well, I hear you say all of these beautiful things, and I don't have one single doubt in my mind that she's that way. I just would like to state for the record, in all honesty, I don't think my family would describe me like you described me.
Well, it's not, listen, she's not without her faults, but it is, I don't know. I don't know if it's one of those things when you think about, like thinking about your spouse, whatever, but she's just such a great match for me because she has so many things I don't. And so I think that's why it's so easy to see. You know what I mean? It's just like, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. Oh my gosh, she's good at that. And so it's almost my inability to do those things that makes them so paramount, because they're just so front of, like, just right here, they're right in front of you.
Well, like you said, you have sick kids. How many kids do you have?
We have 3.
And boy or girl?
Boy, girl, boy.
Boy, girl, boy. Okay. So we have a thing in my house, and I feel terrible saying this, but if they're going to get sick in the middle of the night, they know not to wake me up.
Oh my gosh, for real.
They say, I walked down the hall the other night and I'm like, why didn't you get me up? And they're like, we know not to do that. We know that you're like a rager. You're a night rager. And so is that like,
which is really close to Night Ranger, which is Sister Christian love.
Yeah. So maybe I'm missing some of those.
Well, let me tell you the thing that's interesting about Annie. And she would say this. I don't feel like I'm selling her out. Her gift is not necessarily sensitivity. Okay. Right. So she's not someone that and she would tell you this, she's not going to be the most comforting. She can be, obviously, but that's not the way she faces the world. But when there is a need and there's a real, this is very real, what's happening, it needs help. She is absolutely 100% dedicated to doing whatever it needs to see that need is met. Now, if it's short of that, it's touch and go because it's like, are you manipulating me? What's happening here? But I think when it comes down to this is a real thing that is happening right now. Yeah. When the kid comes in the room, and I don't even know they'd probably say this is not true, but I don't even know it's they're let's don't get dad as much as they're mom's just going to deliver. She's going to she will get up. She'll
she'll know where the medicine, she'll know where the NyQuil is. He will rummage around like a raccoon in the dark.
Yeah. Just completely, just walking into a wall, just like a robot that doesn't.
Yeah.
So, that might be something that's a little more particular or not. But I just know that I watch her and I'm just it's just when it comes to something that is this needs to happen, this is not sort of a should be she's I'll be there. I will clean up, throw up. I will hold you and potentially get sick myself because that is what I have to do.
I literally said to them the other night, it was Remy, our daughter, who was sick and David was taking care of her. And I said, hey, I caught your vomit in a Cracker Barrel. I literally caught it before it came out of your mouth. And she was like, I was an infant. I am now 17 years old. Let that go. Yeah. They have a thing on Mother's Day that they like to do. We go out to this really nice restaurant. Don't be intimidated by me. It's called the Olive Garden. And we will go out.
Jardine.
Yeah, that's what we got here. Okay.
Hey, it's okay.
And they love on Mother's Day to tell me all the ways that I failed them as a mom. And it's fun. That's fun. And I'm like, why is that? That's something that they get a kick out of. And then the other day I was limping into a restaurant. I was walking into a restaurant and my mom and my aunt were waiting on me and I was limping. And I got to the table and they go, my mother said, why are you limping? And I said, I've got a bad foot. And she said, my God, bless her heart. She's built just like her daddy's people. So I'm used to.
I just love the phrase, her daddy's people. I just love that.
I think I'm mothering the way I was mothered. And I will say, I'm thick as thieves with my mom. We are. And I wouldn't trade her for the world. But I just
but you know what? Not to get really serious all of a sudden, but truthfully, what you just said, I think is actually a pretty profound thing. Because I think how old are your kids?
Well, my kids are 16 and 18 now.
Okay. So this is what's such a gift to me. And I know it is a joke, but I do think there's something really beautiful about what you said, because I think if you can talk to your kids about what you've not done well now, oh my God, you are saving yourself and them so much pain in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
It's because I feel like most kids sort of get out of the house, start dating or whatever, and then they realize oh my gosh, my parents, if they didn't know already, they're crazy, or they've really let me down. Or, I tell people all the time, it's when you bring that person into your house, usually it's the person you're going to marry. This is a weird analogy, but stay with me. I think of our life, it's almost like you bring them into your house and there's a tapestry on the wall, right? This huge tapestry. And it's the Barnes family tapestry, right? It's the Radke tapestry. And you're like every morning, you're like, oh, look, that's the thing. And you eat your cereal and you leave the house. Well, you bring this potential spouse in, this person you're going to fall in love with, and they go, huh. And you're kind of looking at it like, that's weird. Why'd you say that? And you're like, well, have you ever noticed there's a baby in the corner with an axe? And you're like, yeah, that's a little axe baby. And they're like, hmm. And also, why is that dragon trying to burn the axe baby? And you're like, oh, that's the crazy burning dragon. Yeah. And they're like, well, see, now that's not normal. And you go, oh my God, that's not normal. It's like one of the first times you have another perspective. You have someone else's perspective that's close to you that you trust.
Absolutely.
So I think the gift is if you could sort of have kids that see the tapestry before someone else forces them to see the tapestry.
Yeah.
It's like the healthiest thing in the world, because then you can sit and admit like, oh my gosh, it's great. I painted the axe baby and your dad painted the dragon. We thought it was a good idea, but you can get it out there and it's not this sort of like, I've just seen so many struggles in people's lives when they have to sit with their parents and say hard things when they're 25. Right. And then, sometimes the parent accepts it. Sometimes the parents get mad because they're like, how dare you talk to me? But I think there's a real gift in you having the kind of relationship with your kids that they can go like, oh, mom, you totally dropped the ball on this. And you go, oh, well, it's because they're not they don't come in with this luggage in their mid-20s and sort of go, hey, we're all going to need to sit down. It's going to take a minute. You've never seen the luggage.
Yeah. And I will honestly say, I think David and I had been married for a while before I ever looked at my parents and saw them as the mere mortals that they are. And so therefore, when my family dealt with, talking about being serious all of a sudden, when my family began to deal with heartache and even some, alcoholism in our family that had never been there when I was growing up, I realized that's just because their feet are made of clay. But they never told me this. And I always saw them as so perfect, So I guess maybe it does make me feel better when Rocco says, remember when mom knew I couldn't take pills, so she would just shove them down my mouth at night when I was asleep.
Hey, I'm like, tough love. There's easy love, but it's love either way. It's love either way.
That's right. Hey, did you know that the Chicken Fried Women podcast is being brought to you by my new book, Chicken Fried Women, coming out April 22nd? I have a question for you. Have you pre-ordered it yet? Go to Amazon.com or wherever you buy books and order one for you, your bestie, and your mom, and your college roommate. You get what I'm saying. That's all I'm going to say. Tell me a funny story about you and your wife, or you and your mother. A story that has become legend around the Barnes tapestry.
So I used to tell a couple of these in my stand-up shows when I would do comedy, but two that are go of my,
tell them.
They're a couple of my favorites. It's really hard for me not to laugh. Tell these stories. Mom she's heard me tell these stories numerous times, so she's greenlit these. One is when I was going to get my eye, like I couldn't see growing up. I had the worst eyesight. And mom and dad, they just wouldn't believe me. They just like flat out would not believe that I couldn't see. So finally I tell mom, like, Mom, I got to get my eyes checked. And this is probably like 7th, 8th grade. So I mean, I'm becoming a young man. And she takes me to Jackson, Mississippi, and we go, we get checked in the Thomas like, all right, come back. And so the first thing you do, you stand and they have the big letters on the wall.
Sure.
And they get smaller, the eye chart. So they give you the little thing, and so I'm standing there, and she's like, the guy's like, all right, if you'll go ahead and read the chart. And I was like, great. And he's like, put over your eye, and so I did this whole thing, and he's like, all right, read the top line. And I was like, yeah. Okay. That's and I hear, and I was like, okay, is it E? He's like, that's right. And I was like, and she's like, just read, they're right there. And I'm like, okay. And literally for probably a minute and a half, like, okay, next line. She's like, and I'm like, E is an eagle. Okay. E. And finally the eye doctor's like, okay, Miss Barnes, so what we don't want to do is help our son cheat, because that actually doesn't help him. It doesn't. And she was just like, what? He can see. I don't know why he's doing this. It was like, I don't know if she just thought like he's this perfect little boy.
Oh, no. Was it that, or was it this child has been, telling Wendy's, telling tall tales for his whole life, and I can't believe a word coming out of his mouth.
No, it wasn't that. She thought I was just such a sweet little thing. And then the other one of my other favorite stories, and I'm not embellishing them because usually these are like 20-minute stories, but the other one, we had a place called Claude Julian's in Kosciuszko, Mississippi, a town of 8,000 people. It's the only place you could get like fine clothing, bespoke clothing. So we got to go once a year because my dad was a pastor and we made like $9 a year. And so we went to get school clothes and she would make me go in and try them on, and every time I came out, it was like randomly all the prettiest girls in my school would be at that store the same day. And so it was that thing where mom is picking clothes that are way too small because she just really hopefully thinks I'm smaller than I was at the time. I was a husky kid. And so she'd give me stuff and I'd come out and the buttons just barely hanging on the shirt, and I'm like, Mom, I don't know. Like, she'd be like, put your arms out. I'm like, if I put my arms out, this thing, and, it'd shoot off and people are ducking, you hear it pinging around the room, that kind of thing. Well, one day, we're doing this and she's like, all right, now put on these pants. I'll put them on. And I come out and that thing that every boy has dealt with where she was like, okay, now it's time to get her feeling your crotch. And I'm like ninja swiping her hand, but it's too fast. And she just grabs and just pull. And all of my cheerleader friends are standing like, Miss Bar. And I'm just like, and she's just jerking. And then of course she goes, there's so much room. And I was like, oh, this is the worst. This is the worst. So
I love it.
We have a few of those.
Oh my gosh. I feel so normal right now. Well, not about that part.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that part.
Yeah.
I have been married to David for, this will be 31 years.
Wow.
This August. I know it. I look like a youth.
I was going to say, you looked so young.
31 years this August. He's sitting back there producing all of this. And I am about to tell you something, David Radke, that you have never even heard. But when he said that about his mother in a clothes shop and the cheerleaders from his school were there, there was this boy at my school and his name was Kane. And he was very popular.
He was probably a bad boy, wasn't he? Kane?
He was a bad boy. He had a bad attitude.
I was in the left mall.
I was in the left mall. And we had one of those places where you would go and get an ice cream on a stick and they would dip it in chocolate and then roll it in nuts.
Girl.
Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
And I was eating one. Now, I need y'all to both know I was built like the principal in the 4th grade. Okay? I'm not kidding. In 6th grade, I would sign hall passes because kids would think I was a teacher. Okay? I was quite a lofty woman. And I had that thing. Those are not easy to eat. You'll have to like go over and eat it.
Yeah.
We are walking through Bell's and I'm just a town on this thing.
Girl.
Kane Andrews walks right up, right in front of me. And I went, look at this. I went, oh, hi, Kane. And I don't know why, but my mother went, look at the mess she's making. And I told her if she finishes it, I'll get her a second one.
I mean, what's
that even?
No. What did you do in that moment?
Nothing. There was just nuts and mold. That's why I've been married 30 years. You know what? And that I shouldn't have said. I shouldn't have said that.
We're just getting to that age with my kids where they're doing that thing. We're like, Dad, stop that stuff. Like we just entered that.
What age are they?
They're 13, 10, and 8. Yeah.
Those are hard ones. It's about to get really real for you.
Yeah. Yep. I know.
We're choosing colleges right now.
Yes.
We're choosing colleges in Jesus' name. He's got to make a way where there is no way. I'm gonna tell you what, he needs to really do a miracle. The other day I saw this girl on TikTok and she's like, if everybody that follows me will just give me $1, then I'll be able to buy, whatever it was, get myself some extensions for my high school reunion. That's a thing now on TikTok. People will do that.
Oh, I love that.
I ran into David and I go, David,
I have an idea.
I got 100,000 followers on TikTok. We can put this baby.
Girl. I mean,
how did we end up here? Okay. Does Annie think that your mother, do they get along well? Or does she think?
They do. No, they get along. It's really great. My mom is, I think like probably, I don't know how many mother-in-laws like, but I think mom probably errs on like, just don't want to get in the way. which is probably the better way to err than the over involved. So thankfully it's not, it's not something where we're like, act like we're not home. It's not that. Thankfully, it's more like, y'all come over. Like, and like, you sure? So we don't have to navigate all of that weirdness.
Are you someone who grew up and still wants to have a close relationship with your family, wants to be involved with them?
Extremely so.
I think that would be the highest praise. That's one of the things that I pray all the time when my kids grow up and they have the choice to be with me or not. I want them to be with me. I want them to want.
Let me, I'm going to dispense some wisdom. Are you ready? I'm about to preach. Here's the grace that God gave all of us. And I really think this is true. And, I have a podcast called Dadville, and we talk about this stuff a lot with professionals. So this is not, hear me clearly, like this is, But I think the thing that God really blessed parents with is the natural curve of a kid is always toward the parents.
It's always what?
Toward the parents.
Okay.
Always. It never goes away. So I think most of the time then it's on the parents to just make sure they don't break that. Mm-hmm. Right. So I think where we can get it really wrong as parents is feeling like we have to now we need to apologize. We need to, make amends. Like Lord knows more than probably anybody else in their lives other than their spouses someday. But I think we can really believe the wrong thing if we believe that like they aren't for us naturally, because they absolutely are at any age, And I think if there's a disassociation that happens, then I would say a lot of the times it's the parents needing to go, what has happened that broke what should naturally be there? Not how do I make them like me?
Right. That's very good. Yeah.
And I think it's more about healing than it is like setting a trajectory. The trajectory is already there. They're always going to want to know you and have your approval. Always. Yeah. God made them that way. If anything happens, it's the world send you the way you've treated them, something that changes that or can affect it. And so I think the good news for that for me is then how do I've heard people say this and I think it's so beautiful, but like, is the spirit with your kids good? Is the spirit good? And as long as the spirit is good, they're always going to want, and now it's not like they're going to want to call you every day or be your best friend necessarily. That's not what I'm saying, but will they always want some sense of like my dad and mom love me and are proud of me? I think so. And I think then it's just our job to really care for that well, and I think that's why I love the scripture so much, not exasperate them. I think we have to have and so I think for me, I see that more with my parents, probably more as I'm 46. I look at 25, I've been told, and that's great.
Who told you that? Your mother?
Yes, my mom in the mirror. So it's a meta thing I bought. It's great. It just whispers sweet nothings to you as you look into it every morning. But I think like I have found that as I've gotten older, I kind of want that as much as I ever have with my parents, and like I love hearing my dad come to shows or tell me, he was checking some, article on the internet about me or whatever. Like that actually means a lot to me because I like to know that because that is the bend. That is my bend, is to know that my parents approve of me and think I'm great and think I'm doing it well. And that, and so it's funny because I didn't think it would be like that, but I think it's potentially as strong as it ever has been, which is crazy to me. You would think that like, as you get more secure, as your life sort of builds up in a way that you kind of think like I'm good. And I don't know that I need the same things that I need as a kid. That's not what I'm saying. But I think absolutely I still want to know like, hey, did you hear the new song? Or they're coming to the show. Okay, good. Like, did you, it matters still. It really, and I think it should. I don't think that will ever go away.
I hope it doesn't. I hope it doesn't for y'all. I hope it doesn't for us. We went a vacation with my parents. I mean, when we plan our summer vacation, Remy and Rocco say, are Noni and Poppy coming? I mean, that's just how, and I can't really imagine a world where family doesn't play a big part. I can't imagine that.
Yeah.
So after we left Nashville, we moved back to Texas where I was born and raised. So we're back in my hometown because as you know, everybody in Nashville is a transplant or used to be a transplant.
It's true. It's true.
And it was really important that our children be raised around family. And so here I am writing a book about family, but family really did, Miranda Lambert sings The House That Built Me. These are the women. These are the men. This is the people that built me, that made me who I am. Okay. Before we go, I want to ask you, what is the latest on what you're doing? Is it music? Is it symphony stuff? Is it stand up? What is the latest that you're doing? Because
so many things, Melissa.
Women are following you today. They need to know what you.
Stop. What? This whole thing? No, I've got a few things going. So I put out a song a month, which is really fun on Spotify and Apple Music and everything. So basically, it's a really fun project. So, I've done this for a while. It's in my first trip out to the, I don't know where I was going with that. I was going to say something weird, and then it was going to be even weirder. But so, writing songs and trying to find things to write about 25 years in a career is it's a lot. But I love it. It's the job. I love it. But it's a lot, Yeah. So I had this idea at the end of last year because I want to be releasing music on a tighter clip because that's kind of what we call them the DSPs, but the digital service providers like, Apple Music and Spotify is they like seeing because the algorithm then sees that and it helps you out. It kind of goes, hey, you're one of the guys that's like playing our little game. Okay. So I wanted to release a song a month. And so I'm working on another album, but I was like, it's not going to be ready yet. And I don't know if that's the right fit for this kind of an idea. And so I was like, what if I go back through, I've been writing songs for other people for about 13 years now, along with my own music. And a lot of these songs just never got recorded because that's a big part of this weird, this from living in Nashville. That's one of the weird things about writing with other people is, you may write a song with an artist and they're like, that was great, but then they never record it. And it just kind of, it just sort of floats on down the river. And so I had about 10 or 11 of these that I've just always loved over the last 10, 11 years. It's like, this song that came out this month is called Symphony. And I wrote it with Kelsey Ballerini for her years ago. And we both loved it, but she just never recorded it. And I've just loved it. It's like one of those songs that I have a little voice memo of her singing it. And every, a couple times a year, I'd find it and be like, I'm listening to it in the car. And she played it at a couple of rounds that we got to do together. And so I just loved the song, but I was like, it'll never see the light of day. And this is a project that's going to be called The Songs That Got Away. And every month I re-recorded a song I wrote for somebody else. Yeah. Kind of in my style. And we're dropping them once a month. And so it's been really fun because I think it's given people a little different view of, what I do. And, there's some more country stuff. There's like the song next month in March is like the soul R&B thing. And so it's really fun because I just think it's like a fun way for people to keep sort of hearing what I can do, but maybe not in the same way.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Would you say that you have written any songs that I would be stunned to find out it was from you? That an artist has done?
Well, maybe. Do you listen to country music at all?
Well, I do, but I'm just mainly stuck on Morgan.
You are. Well, you and the rest of the world. If you look at his numbers, that you wouldn't be the only one. No, I've had a couple of country songs that have done well.
No, I really do love country. So name something.
So there's a song called Craving You that's Thomas Rhett and Maren Morris. Yeah. Yeah, I wrote that.
Thomas Rhett. Oh, Maren Morris.
Oh, okay. He's the best.
Yeah.
You will not find many better men than Thomas Rhett. He is a wonderful guy. Let me, funny story about him. When I met him the first time, he was like 22. And literally, he was like, Dave, I just got to tell you, I used to make out with my college girlfriend your songs all the time. And I was like, that's a strong first line. And you made me like you immediately. And then, I just had a song that went number 2 last year, which sounds weird.
That does sound weird.
I wish I could rephrase that. By Dan and Shay called You. That was a big song for them. So it's fun, just writing songs. That's again, that's why I like this new project. Is there's just so much music I make that people don't ever get to hear, or they don't know that I did it.
Yeah.
So it's fun, putting those out for people to.
I'm excited. If I'm on Spotify, so I just know that at a certain day every month, I'll see a new one uploaded.
Fridays.
Okay. All right. They're
up there.
Y'all, I apologize for nothing. This is now a podcast episode that is probably ran for 2, 3, 4, I don't know, episodes long, and I don't apologize for it. When I have people on this show that I want to talk to, I'm going to talk to them for an hour. And then there'll be other times when it's like my mom, and I'll just want to talk to her for maybe 15 to 17 minutes. Okay? And you got to let me do that. Hey, I hope you've enjoyed listening to Dave Barnes here on Chicken Fried Women. As always, I want to know your stories by your people, so email me at melissa@melissaradke.com. I love you so much. Until next time. Thanks so much for being here today, where we get to talk about our friendships and our kinships and the stories that made us this way. Till next time.